Slay the Spire has certainly become the foundation for a lot of indie games basing themselves off of a deck-building roguelike formula. And what we have here with Hadean Tactics certainly shows a lot of promise. Developers gave me a press key to check this one out, and please keep in mind that the footage that you're seeing is from way into its early access. I think this is like very much like a first or second version of the game on early access right now, and may not represent the current version of it. So what we have here is kind of an amalgamation of several of the major deck-building roguelikes that we've seen, predominantly Slay the Spire and Monster Train. As you can tell by this map, that looks very reminiscent of Slay the Spire. So where Hadean Tactics kind of goes in a different direction is how combat and the deck building plays out. If you look in the upper left, you'll see that my party is made up of 3 units. One is a hero, the other 2 are kind of the monsters that you can find and recruit during play. Combat is handled auto-battler style, or auto-chess, if you're familiar with that term. How this works is that every turn consists of 7 seconds, and you can play cards up to your mana cap for those 7 seconds, in which the game will then play out in real time. You do not have direct control over your units during the actual combat phase itself. After the 7 seconds has passed, you get to draw again. Now, similar to Slay the Spire and such, you can find relics that decrease the amount of time between turns, gives you more energy, lets you have a greater number of party members, and things like that. In the game right now, it's just one quote-unquote hero unit, and the cards that you find are locked to the respective hero. I believe they are planning for a total of 3 when the game is officially out. And of course, after combat, you'll make your choice of what card you want to add to your deck, with of course lovely rarities to make things even harder of a choice. And when you win or lose a run, you'll get experience for that character, which will unlock new relics and cards that can appear in subsequent plays. Now, where the game kind of draws some similarities to Monster Train is how the monsters themselves grow in power. At specific marks on the map, you're able to go to this area, where the game will randomly choose monsters that you can draft from. Each monster belongs to a different class. I believe the faction is based on the orb at the bottom of their little screen pane at the top. And they can also be assigned random perks. That was the grotesque that you see at the bottom there. And the perks will determine not only if they get any bonus abilities, but can also provide synergies between different classes and even your main hero. And this led to some insane, I think, game-breaking things that we did later on during this run. Now, when you upgrade characters, it will also randomly choose between the upgrades as well as a level of them. So you get like a Grotesque level 3, Stalker 2, and you have to decide again how you want to build your characters. So in terms of kind of how RNG or a run can go, you have what cards that can show up, what monsters you can recruit, and how you level them up, along with leveling up your hero at the beginning of each new level. So there's definitely a lot in terms of variance, and I almost forgot the various relics that you can find along with events. And this definitely gives the runs a lot of variety. Now again though, the game is played auto style, so if you're hoping for direct influencing of your units outside when you initially place them, that is not going to be in this game. But the cards are definitely showing off the potential for a lot of different varieties of strategies, especially when they're synergized with your units and relics. Cards can be upgraded, but it's a single upgrade per card. And as the game goes on, you're going to go through the various circles here. And in this version of Hadean Tactics, there's only 3 levels. I believe the game is planning on a normal campaign having 6, and possibly doing the Slay the Spire thing of having a super difficult, you have to do a specific condition during the run to unlock Final Layer. At this moment when we played it, the game does highlight, if you look at the icon in the upper right hand corner next to the 2x, what boss you're going to fight per layer. But at this time, the bosses seem to be fixed. Like, it's the same boss for each layer, and I don't know there's going to be more of them in later versions of it. For right now though, I really do like this concept of the auto battler mixed with the ability to influence the combat with your cards every few seconds of play. And while you don't have direct control, the monsters certainly have their own interesting quirks and abilities to go with it. So with all that said, we're going to take our quick break now, and when we come back, I want to talk about a few of the nitpicks, and I think some of the issues the game needs to work on going forward. And now for a quick thank you to our current Patreon supporters. And if you're interested in my books on design, they are available at most major retailers. 20 Essential Games to Study is for first-time developers looking to be inspired, and the Game Design Deep Dive series covers the history and philosophy of major genres, with horror coming later in 2021. With Hadean Tactics, there's definitely a lot here for fans looking for a different take on deck-building roguelikes. Now, the footage you're seeing is perhaps the greatest moment I think I've ever had when we got the perfect, like, Slay the Spire-esque super counter on this elite fight. And I had to show it on this video because I don't think this will ever happen again for me. But with the game here, I do have a few concerns. The first one is that the aesthetics are not the strongest suit of this game. And this both in terms of card art, as well as just the general look of the units and combat. It lacks, I think, the unique style of either Slay the Spire, or the detail of something like Monster Train. I know that the developer is a small team, so they don't have, I think, a huge budget or a huge amount for art in the game yet. But it does kind of hurt, I think, some of the presentation by the fact that you can't really make out what is happening as you're watching this footage. Now, again though, to be fair, you're watching this, or in this play I'm running it at 2x speed, but you're going to see like just things melt in like the span of a few seconds. And that's another issue. Once you start building up synergies and relics and all that, it becomes very hard to know just what is going on. And at this point in this run, basically I stumbled upon the equivalent of the Brimstone Epic Fetus strategy of the Binding of Isaac. And everything was just coming up OP for me. But part of the issue with the presentation of this game, and I think some of the lack of tooltips and explaining things, is that I don't know why. And that is a major problem for games like this. Part of the reason why Monster Train Slay the Spire worked so well was the fact that it was very easy to understand, okay, if I use this card with this relic with this other card, I can produce this combo and thereby just dominate. In this game, I still don't understand how these synergies work in terms of when they're applied. So, for instance, the different card monsters, or the monsters here, they get these benefits like bonus to Mystic, bonus to Celestials. But I don't know what those mean because there's no mention of what the class is on their info pane. Also, cards that do direct damage, while characters will update their info pane when they get a buff, such as, increased DPS, increased armor, etc., it didn't seem to apply to spell cards or direct damage cards. So during this run, my cards that, let's say they do 75 points of damage, 150 points of damage, whatever, they were doing far more damage to enemies, and for the life of me, I couldn't figure out why. The cards weren't upgraded, and it just wasn't really making itself clear. Now, in terms of balance at the moment, that's, I think, a far harder discussion. There are some cards in this game that are just insane. Like right here, I use my clone card or my illusion card to clone the boss, getting his buffs on that unit, super buffing him, then removing all the buffs from the enemies, and this fight I think ends in 2 turns. And again, I don't know how I stumbled upon the OP combination here, but it certainly worked out well for me. And the game does have a progressive difficulty feature similar to Ascension and the other one, I forget, the Covenant system from Monster Train. This one's called Corrupted. And when you beat the game with a character, you unlock the next tier. So Corrupted level 1 in Hadean Tactics is that all the enemies become far more lethal. Another thing that I forgot to mention that I should, is that the game is not over if you lose your hero unit. As long as the party survives a battle, all the units will revive with very minimal health. And after each fight, your units will recover health with your bench units getting more. So it does seem like part of the strategy is to cultivate an A team and a B team in order to kind of swap units in between, make sure that your best units are getting their health back. With everything said, I did end up enjoying this game. There is potential here if you are a fan of deck building roguelikes. I don't think, unfortunately, at this moment in time, there's enough here that I would say that this game is going to kind of take the place of Monster Train or Slay the Spire if you're fans of those designs. But the foundation is certainly here, I think, for some improvements, and could very well stand on its own if everything turns out accordingly. If you do enjoy Monster Train, Slay the Spire, and anything deck building roguelike base, and are looking for a different take on it, then definitely give this one a try. If you don't enjoy those games, I don't know if the auto battler system is enough to kind of sway you to this one. But I do want to say thank you to the developers for giving me a press key to check this one out. Like I said, I really did enjoy it, and I wish them the best of luck with going through early access. If you'd like me to take a look at your game in a future video or stream, please reach out. As always, check out our Discord and Patreon link down below, and come back for daily discussions on game design here and on game wisdom, where he's in the art and science of games. Once again, this has been Hadean Tactics, and I will see you all next time. Take care.